Everyone, and today we're back with another reaction video. It's not going to be music this time. I'm reacting to the 9/11 boat lift story. It's been requested like loads, so I'm really looking forward to this one. I'll keep the commentary as short as possible. I just want you guys to enjoy the video with me, we can watch it together, and if you guys haven't seen it already, you can learn something as well as I do, because I don't actually know this story one bit at all. Obviously, when we're talking about 9/11, we're taught about just the base things that happened. We're not, especially in the UK, we're not really taught too much about the rest of everything else that happened around the timeline. So it'll be really good for me to see, and I'm sure that I'm about to see some real American heroism. So let's get to it. Before we get to it, subscribe and like this video, hit the notification bell so you see all my videos come up. Hopefully you're enjoying my content, and if you really are, a subscription would be absolutely amazing from you guys. Thank you very much for your support, and let's get to the video and learn something together.
U.S. Coast Guard, Ventura. Yeah, cop's been a major explosion, top of the World Trade Center. Looks like a plane hit it.
9/11 holds place in the history of New York City and of our nation as one of the great disasters. The Holland Tunnel was shut down. The path was flooded. The George Washington Bridge was shut down.
2 attacks there have been in Manhattan. 1 plane colliding with 1 twin tower. 18 minutes later, oh my God.
The only way for people to go to New Jersey is via boat. The Coast Guard saw the Sea of Humanity in Battery Park, and so they went on the VHF and said, calling all boats.
All available boats. This is the United States Coast Guard. Anyone want to help with the evacuation of Lower Manhattan? Report to Governor's Island.
I need as many life vests!
And all of a sudden, we started seeing sightseeing boats, catamarans, small boats, tender boats. The United States Coast Guard estimate the total people taken off of Manhattan was 500,000 people,
Women and children first!
which makes it the largest marine evacuation in history. My name is Peter Johansson. I was the Senior Director of Ferry Operations for New York Waterway. I was the person in charge of operations on the day when 9/11 happened.
Okay.
If I look back at 9/11, it was just azure blue skies. It was perfect temperature. I was scheduled to have a meeting with the Coast Guard. I got on the 840 ferry. We started out into the river. You're looking straight at Manhattan in all its glory. There's the Empire State Building straight ahead of you. I was talking to the captain, and I just happened to look up over my left shoulder and saw the first plane go past me and go right into the building.
Jesus Christ. Jesus.
And there was a jagged impression on the side of the building, like 45 degrees, that it went in. What was that? Was it navigation error? How could this happen? We saw out the other side smoke billowing. We docked at Pier 11. As everybody's walking off, there is paper fluttering down, and it was envelopes, and it was memos, whatever was on somebody's desk, because the wind was coming directly from the North Tower to where Pier 11 is. Whenever anything happened around the World Trade Center, we knew that people, if they couldn't go to the path system, they would come to us. And so I got on the phone and basically said, we're going to need to start sending more ferries down to the World Trade Center. At that time, our ferry fleet was about 24 boats. We were carrying about 33,000 passengers a day. We went right to the ferry terminal at the World Trade Center. The whole barge is filled with people. We can carry 150 people on our boat, and I stayed there. I went up to the top of the ramp and started doing crowd control. It was only about 5 minutes, about 9:03. I watch as another plane circles around the Statue of Liberty and heads right for the South Tower and the fireball
Jesus
as it
Christ.
strikes the tower. That changed everything.
Terrorist shit, man.
That is it. This is terrorist.
You're not going to have 2 accidents at the same time. We're under attack. I have to stick with what I need to do, and that's safety of
horrible to
people
see.
and getting them out of there. If anybody showed up that was injured in any way, we made sure we got them to medical attention. If anybody showed up and they were covered in debris, they set up a system on the other side where they would hose them down, decontaminate them. People lined up to get on those boats, and the lines stretched northward and southward for about 20 blocks. So we continued the evacuation until the first building came down. You heard this rumble and you felt the shaking.
Screams.
All of a sudden, this cloud goes past us. I remember putting some cloth over my mouth and just running. At this point, they've just shut down all traffic in and out of the city, so the only way for people to go to New Jersey is via boat. The Coast Guard saw the Sea of Humanity in Battery Park clamoring to get out of there, and so they went on the VHF and said, calling all boats.
All available boats. This is the United States Coast Guard. Anyone wanting to help with the evacuation of Lower Manhattan, report to Governor's Island.
And this was the first time that they had ever done that, to put out a plea and say, if you can respond as a mariner, can you come down here and rescue people? And all of a sudden, the tugboats that are in Staten Island tied up, the fishing boats that are in Sheepshead Bay or on the Jersey Shore took their lines off and headed that way. We started seeing sightseeing boats, catamarans, small boats, tender boats. And you know what? We were thrilled to have them.
Watch your step, watch your step.
The dog.
The Coast Guard had people on the ground there at Battery Park telling them, you can take 50 people, you can take 75 people. And then they would direct them where they're going to go.
I can't believe it, man. I'm fucking numb. I can't believe it. He's got a boatload again.
Every boat was completely full every run. People were waiting 3 or 4 hours to get on a boat, and they were happy to do it. They just kept saying thank you. As the day went on, there was some interesting rescues that our people did. There was a guy who strapped soda bottles to his body and tried to swim across the Hudson. And our guys picked him out of the water. And it was just like, you're crazy. A boat would pull in, load up 400 people, would pull away, go straight across, would discharge those people, and just coming back and forth. And we really kept that pace through the night, even into the wee hours. The United States Coast Guard, when they look back at the boat lift that occurred on 9/11, they estimate the total people taken off of Manhattan was 500,000 people, which makes it the largest marine evacuation in history.
Incredible. Just normal people.
Sometime after midnight, I got in my car and I had this urge to go home. Probably got home at about 2:30 in the morning, and I went and I kissed each of my children. They were all sleeping, but my wife had been waiting up for me. She had been a nervous wreck the whole day. She appreciated the fact that I came home. I think of the notices that people posted for their loved ones. It was heart-wrenching, just because you knew that most of those people were never coming back. And some of these people you recognized because you saw them on the ferries all the time. My neighbor 2 doors down was at the top of the North Tower, and he lost his life, and we lost a number of people from my town. It was also very personal. I always considered myself a very healthy person. 2014, turned out I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 4. It's one of those cancers that are very common amongst people who were exposed to 9/11.
I didn't know about that.
Building debris is covered in asbestos.
We've had a number of people who worked for New York Waterway who were in that zone for a long time who have passed away.
Oh my God.
It's a sad reality. I'm just very fortunate. I am in remission for 7 years now. I pride myself on being a native New Yorker. My parents grew up in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and they moved the family out in Long Island, which is where I grew up. And it gladdened my heart when I saw the response of New Yorkers to how they helped each other post 9/11. Nobody wanted to have this sense of defeatism. The sooner that we opened things up, people felt good about that. The city never ceases to amaze me how it reinvents itself. It's not surprising to see the success of the boat lift, because throughout your mariner career, you are trained over and over again to respond to emergencies. We had a little saying at the school I went to: if somebody yelled one hand, everybody came running. Basically, one hand for the ship, but one hand for everybody to help.
Yes, Captain, you need any help evacuating people from Manhattan? We're at off Governor's Island. We're at tugboat. U.S. Coast Guard, this is Pleasure Vessel. I'm standing off Manhattan. If you need us. Assistance,
Wow.
we can come in and pick up people. Yes, sir, this is a private yacht Avante. Would you like us to try to evacuate anybody off the North Seawall of it?
I'm very proud of the fact that I was in charge of an operation that evacuated between 200 and 220,000 people from Manhattan that day. The fact that I was there is important,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of people that were there with me. And the crews of our
Yeah.
boats, they were heroes. And I would just like to recognize them for all that they did that day. 9/11, I was there. And if I have to take away something from
Yes, sir.
my experience, is that the world can change in an instant. Be ready to respond and to have a positive impact.
Wow. It's been so long since I've seen the footage of the 9/11 that, again, just seeing it even one more time is just absolutely harrowing. But you know, the message to take away from that, I know that he took away. He said he took away that the world can change in an instant, so be ready to respond positively and to help at any time. And I think that's a really, really great message to take away from that entire story. Let me take these out so I can hear myself. I think another really good message that sort of I took away from it was, you know, these people that were operating the boats, a lot of them were just, you know, sort of commercial ferries that were taking people back and forth, maybe doing boat tours, private yachts I heard respond, and of course naturally the Coast Guard is going to respond. So let's start off with saying, you know, of course the Coast Guard were absolute heroes in that. But what I wanted to touch on was the fact that, you know, these normal people that operated these boats, and of course they are highly trained mariners, all of them, of course they are, but they most likely never ever expected to have to respond to a situation like that. You know, their job was to ferry people, you know, across the Hudson in one capacity or another, but they never assumed that it would have to be in such tragic circumstances. And what I really appreciate and find amazing is that these were normal, absolutely normal people going about their day jobs as mariners, as crew on boats. And when that was asked of them from the Coast Guard, they responded like heroes. That I don't think it seemed to me as though they didn't miss a beat. They simply they saw what was happening, they heard the call for help, and they responded immediately and absolutely did a fantastic job. 500,000 people. Now I know New York is a city of 8 or 9 million people currently. I'm going to assume that in 2001 we're probably looking at, it was probably about 6-7 million. So you're looking at like a 1/14, 1/16 of the entire city of New York was evacuated in a matter of hours. I know the boat lift carried on until the early hours of the morning, but you know, it's still, you know, over a day, over less than 24 hours to evacuate 500,000 people in need of help and support on a moment's notice, having no training to do that necessarily, you know, other than their standard training as a ship's mate or a captain on a boat. To do that was absolutely incredible, and they didn't miss a beat, and it was really genuinely impressive. And it shows that in the darkest times, humanity prevails. You know, love and compassion, strength and courage always prevails in the face of absolute devastation, which is precisely what happened September 11th, 2001 in Manhattan. An absolutely gleaming amount of respect for those people, and of course that also, I know this wasn't part of the story itself, but I mean also goes to the police, fire and ambulance that responded to the tragedy that happened on that day, and of course all the people who lost their lives and lost their loved ones on that day as well. God bless you all as well, and lots of love goes out to you. And it's a horrible thing for anyone to have to go through. I personally can't even begin to imagine it. I was too young to remember when the planes hit the World Trade Center. I would have been 4 years old. So now you know how old I am. So I can't really speak on what I remember then because I don't remember a thing. But what I do remember is seeing footage every year on that day in school. We would have a 2-minute silence at 11 a.m. And I remember it being quite a somber experience. And you know, as a child, you don't really understand exactly what's happening. And as you grow and you see it every single year, it does become imprinted in your memory. And you realize, especially as an adult, once you hit those ages where you can really comprehend exactly what happened, just how devastating and horrendous that is. It's absolutely incredible that those people responded to such a horrendous and gut-wrenching situation with such courage and speed. So that was an incredible story. That is a story, I believe, of American resilience. I'm not saying that resilience and that kind of strength is unique to the United States, because you see it everywhere in the world. But on this subject, on this note, that is truly a story of American resilience, courage, and overall, and most importantly, unity, which is something that I believe, you know, like I've said in previous videos, it seems to be something that's quite scarce at the moment. I wouldn't worry about it. I think the country will unite soon, and hopefully under good circumstances, not bad circumstances, of course. Sorry, I just touched wood there. But yes, that is scarce at the moment, but that story of unity and compassion and humanity for other Americans, other New Yorkers, is absolutely beautiful. Very impressive. And guys, thank you so much for recommending this video. It's really opened my eye. I didn't know this happened. I was taught about this, about 9/11 growing up as a kid, of course, like every kid is in the UK. I'm not sure if they still do it now, but I remember when we were growing up, it was super important. Our teachers took it very seriously in school. That we learned, we spent a day learning about it every single year and remembering it. So yeah, I learned so much about it growing up, and about, well, of course, limited being in school, and you don't want to get into the politics of it, of course. But I'd never ever heard about the boat lift until you guys recommended it, and I just watched this video. So honestly, thank you so much. That was a really good recommendation. Thank you. I've actually got another video coming up now. It's another reaction to the history of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. So this will be up, and then probably in about an hour you'll see that too. So keep yourselves posted. Thank you so much for your support and your recommendation for this video, because it was absolutely great. Like I said, subscribe, like this video, do whatever it is that makes you happy. There might even be a super thanks button underneath. My videos don't really make a lot of money because some of them are copyrighted. YouTube doesn't like to monetize videos like that, so I'm really limited on revenue for this channel. So if you do want to support me, there might, if this video is monetized, there might very well be a button next to the like button, which is a super thanks button, which lets you donate any amount of money. Now, just to clarify, I'm not money grabbing. If you do donate, YouTube will take a cut out of it. That's fine, that makes perfect sense. But I will donate 15% of all proceeds to the Red Cross, to the American Red Cross Association, 15%. And if this donations do exceedingly well, I'll donate up to 30, and I will show you in a video at the end of a 28-day period from now, my donation. I will create a video so you guys can see me donating that money. It's something that I believe in for disasters, especially on this note when we're reacting to this kind of video. I think it's very important to give to charity. So hopefully you guys will support me in that. And thank you very much, and I will see you next time. Thank you.